respect us as your child's teacher and respect us in society alike. And hopefully we can have a great conversation here today, discussing some of the key points, inequality, stereotypes, how that impacts Black boys in schools, Black females in schools, as well as Black men as educators. Just to begin, we'll get started. I know there's still people joining, but they can jump in. I would just like to introduce our core team. So we have myself and Janoy, who are the founders of Black Men Teach. But then we also have amongst us some of our core team. So Janoy, do you wanna go for it, introduce yourself quickly?
So as muted. Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'm Janoy Josephs. I'm also a co-founder with Albert. And as he rightly said, we all kind of got together because we bonded over our lived experience. We bonded over what was our reality, and was the fact that we are Black men in education. And so I always mention the fact that when we made this video, I was quite shocked at the support that we kind of received from it. Some of the comments that people was posting under the video was saying, wow, this is phenomenal. I've never seen this and stuff like that. And then it raised this important question of why is this seem as something that is, extraordinary when it should actually be something that is very ordinary, something that should be the norm. And so somehow, maybe because of the higher being, we've kind of found ourselves together and just pushing forth this message. So in the picture, we do have one other person who's not in the photos, but we have Jordan Braid, Kimoy Walker, we have Akeem Mundell, and then we have Omar Green as well, who's also in this as well. So we are the faces behind Black Men Teach, and thank you so much for joining us for our first session, actually.
Brilliant. So throughout the session, throughout the hour that we're here together, you'll get to meet and hear from various members of the team. Hopefully we'll get to hear from various members of the audience as well. So we've got some students with us, so students that are part of our mentoring program, which is one arm of our initiatives to go back into schools. We've got students that that work with Janoy. So Janoy students are in the building, and then we have various other young people as well. So just quickly, I'm just gonna briefly just say, what are the goals of BMT? So if you haven't heard us speak before, if you haven't, if you wasn't at our launch and this may be the first time you've come across us, what are the goals of BMT? Simply, in one sort of line, we are aiming to build a community for Black men in education. All right, so we're aiming to build a community for Black men in education. We have a mission statement, and the various parts of that mission statement are here. So one of those aims is raising the profile of Black male educators. We know that there are Black male educators out there, right? Maybe not enough. We look at the percentages, and Janoy will talk stats a little bit later, but we look at the percentages. There are Black male educators out there, but one of our things is raising the profile of existing Black males and amplifying their voices within education. We ask the question, do you feel valued? Do you feel wanted? Do you feel needed in education? This is about amplifying their voices and promoting them to allow them to feel like they are valued, they are wanted, they are needed in this education space. Tackling issues with recruitment, retention, and promotion. This is an issue that Black teachers face in education. It's an issue with education as a whole, but specifically with black men. We see Black men that are getting promoted potentially, but how are they? They're not. Retention is an issue. I've spoken to a Black male assistant head teacher that's recently left the profession simply because he didn't feel like his space fit. He didn't feel like education was the space for him. So we aim to tackle those issues, and we'll explain a little bit later how we do that. Providing a safe hub to discuss inequalities in education, like this one here. All right, so one of my key asks is, let's be respectful of each other's opinions, perspectives. Everyone's from different backgrounds, different parts of the UK, different subjects, different experiences. So we've all got our own stories to tell, all right? And no one is in a place to say, oh, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. All right, so let's respect each other's opinions, thoughts, and stories that we decide to share. We're about promoting positive mental and physical health in Black males, right? So within the Black community and Black men in itself, right, we know that this is an issue, right? So this is a part of our organization that we definitely aim to work on and tackle through various initiatives, and celebrating the successes of Black men in education and in society alike. We know that there's a link between education and society, right? So it's important for us to establish that and recognize that and celebrate successes of Black men in education, but also Black men that are doing fantastic things in society as well. Last week we had an event. We spoke at the Diverse Ed event, and our title was Wanted, Needed, or Both. Right, over to you.
Yeah, so last week's conversation, it was really interesting, because ultimately we're talking about this phenomenon known as Black males in education, or the Black male teacher, and we found ourselves in these two categories. Is it a case that we're wanted? Is it a case that we're needed, or can we somehow find ourselves where it's both? So let's look at the whole concept, and we did dive into the statistics, and I know Gervais as well also spoke prior about this whole statistic behind Black male teachers. But this is just a recent data, actually, a couple of years ago. In 2019, 85% of all teachers in state funding schools in England were white British. And ultimately, where we find that, excuse me, 75% of that cohort, of that 85%, were actually females. So before we even dive into, further inequalities or so on and so forth, we can see that it is largely an improportionate kind of sector. The Black force, or the Black ethnicity, only accounted for 2.3% of the teacher workforce. Sorry, 2.3% of the teacher workforce. And even if, as we go higher, only 1% of this were actually head teachers. And so in this concept, you can kind of see that there is a need. There is a need for more representation. There is a need for more Black males within education. And I mentioned this whole concept of the fact that each of us, we're living in our lived experiences, and that's what's kind of connected us. And so as we kind of progress throughout this whole in this morning, we are going to dive into the fact that there's been cases or occasions, within our career where we can say that we were wanted, not only by our students, not only by the people who we mentor, but also by the staff body. Because one way or another, and something that we are going to discuss, is this whole concept of the Black males almost being like, the boogeyman to students when it comes to behavior management. All of these things we're going to be discussing, and we just welcome this discourse as we kind of continue.
Okay, so we are going to get into it, right? So we're not here to necessarily just present stats at you. We're here to have some real open, honest conversations. Now, there's two ways that we're going to be discussing things here today. We're going to use the breakout rooms to give you guys an opportunity to actually have smaller, impactful conversations, right? And then after the breakout rooms, we're going to come back into a larger setting and give everyone the opportunity to have a more free-flowing conversation. The structure, we're going to have 3 build-up questions. So we've got 3 smaller questions that we will present to you. After each smaller question, we're going to split out into breakout rooms. You should have a member of the BMT team in one of the breakout rooms with you to sort of lead the conversations. And then we're going to come back after a couple of minutes, after you've had a chance to discuss and share your views on that on that particular question. We're going to come back, and then we're going to have a much larger conversation where you're able to share some of the points that were brought up in your smaller conversation into the much larger conversation. We're going to hear from the young people. We're going to hear from the various educators that we have in the room. Big shout out to a couple of people. Big Jamal Carley, early years educator, experienced consultant. Pleasure to have you with us. Karen, I've seen you, on Twitter, experienced educator within us, and loads more. We've already mentioned Gervais. Want to do a big shout out to Jaron, one of our mentees on the Bridge Mentorship Program, and pleasure to have the diversity amongst us, and big shout out to everyone that's new and that hasn't been in one of us, or we haven't connected with yet, and hopefully we can build on that. So here's the structure: 3 build-up questions, 1 big question, discussion in the smaller groups. In the breakout rooms, for each of the smaller questions, we'll come back and then give everyone a chance to feedback based on their conversations. And then the larger conversation will be as free-flowing as possible. So feel free to raise your hands, unmute. Just a reminder that the session is being recorded. There's been quite a few people who aren't able to make it and would like to have access to the conversations. So just be conscious of potentially naming schools or naming colleagues or staff members or particular situations. Just be conscious of those, definitely in the larger session when we come back and reflect. Right, so that's your word of warning. So what we will do is I'm going to show you the first question. All right, the first question is, what are common stereotypes towards Black men in society? All right, so just have a look at that question, potentially start to think about, what stereotypes you think there are towards Black men in education. And then I am going to set up the breakout rooms now.
And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you're all good. And I hope that was just a brief and quick session, especially conversation. Awesome. So we'll wait until a few more people come in. But is there anybody that would like to kind of start off? Is there anybody
I'm happy to start off, Johnny.
Go on, Akeem.
Big up Akeem as well. Akeem is one of the core team, doing a lot of work with us behind the scenes. Big up Akeem.
Thank you very much, brothers. So in our breakout room, we had Gervais, Rakin, Sandra May, Fader, Andrea, and we had some late additions. So obviously the question was, what are common stereotypes to Black men in education? And we've made them, we've done a few bullet points. So we put sometimes Black men in education can be labelled as aggressive, simply due to their qualities that are sometimes looked at as aggression. Young Black men can be seen sometimes as lazy, as always looking for the easy way out, as not hardworking. Sometimes the resilience within Black men is definitely seen, because we feel that a lot of our young Black males are very resilient. Unfortunately, there's quite often a gang affiliated title that's put onto our young Black men, and that's sometimes due to minor things such as clothing, such as the haircut that they have, such as the stance or the way that they've walked in to the establishment. We also went on to speaking about how Black men in education see Black male staff, and we said that they do see them as role models, someone to look up to. But sometimes, and Sandra made the fair point, and she said that sometimes our young Black males, they see our role models, but they don't quite see them. And that could be due to labels in the media, due to the stereotypes that are out there about Black males in society. So sometimes that's not quite the case. So they're the points that we touched on.
Oh, awesome. Jamel, I see your hands up. Do you want to share something?
Blessings. Yeah, I'm gonna share, and then I'm gonna have to run.
Yeah.
What's it called? I had Kara, Charlene, Lero, and Karen. Blessings to Lero. He was actually about to make a point, but then it closed. The group closed. I know these breakout groups are kind of difficult. Sometimes it's hard getting up to speed and such, but big up Leroy. So yeah, we kind of spoke about the same thing. And I made a point that, when I go into settings and when I teach, Albert knows this, I'm wearing a tracksuit, I'm wearing a cap, I dress the way I dress. Teachers look like this, it's not all suits and ties, it's not all shirts. And sometimes, you know, when I walk into settings, especially high establishments, they look at me like, who's this guy? Like, who is he? Is he here to deliver the mail? Is he okay? Is he security, or is he, you know what I mean, the cleaner or something? And I say, no, I'm here to teach. My name's, oh, it's you. Oh, sorry, Mr. Campbell. You know, so it's about breaking those stereotypes, because I come from Lewisham, as I said in the group. Do you know what I mean? I come from an area where people look like me, and not all of them are criminals. Not all of them are gang members, drug dealers, and such. You know, some of them are actually working professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, authors, illustrators, and such. So it's just about breaking those stereotypes.
Awesome. Leroy, I don't know if you want to share what you was going to say before, but thanks so much, Jamal. I found that quite interesting. I found that really interesting, the fact that, you know, you are just who you are, especially when you go into these settings. And one of the things I've also been talking about is just this whole concept of suit and ties. How many should you have, you know, in your wardrobe as a Black man, especially as you're progressing and stuff? And I think it's very empowering to see that you are just who you are, and you wear what you wear because it's the content. It's not necessarily the outside package, but it's the content of it. So respect for that, 100%. Leroy, on me.
Hi, Janai.
How you doing?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, not bad, thanks.
Yeah. I see it from the other side of things, because obviously I'm a student, and we, like, as students, we kind of see it differently. So obviously, the school that I go to, we only see the Black men in suits and ties. Mm-hmm. And as Jamal said, he likes to keep his ear to the ground and be ground level with the students. However, like, from our perspective, we see it as the Black teachers only being professional. We don't have the others, like the flip side of it, as Jamal said he does. And I think we have like 3 or 4 Black teachers in our entire school out of 100 teachers. And about 3 of them, I would say, we call them whitewashed, but kind of, because I know it's a bit rude, but obviously it's like, we feel like they don't really relate to us, kind of, even though they're the ones that are meant to be representing us in the teachers community. We don't feel like they relate to us. And I obviously go to an all-boys school, so the Black men teach thing was a really good thing for me to join, I hope.
Yeah, and it's great to have you as part of it, man. Yeah, honestly, thank you for that. Thank you.
Big up, Leroy. Big up.
Interesting enough, so that same that school that Leroy is talking about is the same school that I attended. And I think growing up, I've always wanted to see that, see more representation. Patrick, and on mute.
Sorry, just had to. No, I'm actually in the bathroom, not doing anything, but it's the safest place away from my 2 boys, because they don't see me Monday to Friday for long, so they're just all over me. So yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Do you know what's the last person's name? Is it Leroy, the student?
Yeah, Leroy. Yeah.
Yeah, you made a point about the way teachers look, and about, you know, what students say, and then being, you know, you calling them whitewashing and stuff. I mean, that's only a certain perspective. I'm a head of year in my school, and one of the things that I know the people at the upper levels absolutely hated is the fact that I was never supposed to get to that level. You know, as a Black man, when you're brought into a school, you're the glorified security guard. That they will tell you, yeah, this is your job, but really what they're saying is, when there's a fight, they need you there. Hello, Sandra. You've just said, is that Patrick from Heavy? Yeah, you recognize my voice. Sorry, there's someone else on the call.
Guys, carry on. So sorry.
So, yeah. So, one of the things that I've done in my school, when I first got to the school, they simply wanted me to be part of the inclusion department, and normally that's dealing with who we would call the most troublesome kids. But then after a while, once you're in that organization, you start to show them, well, I can do this. I can do Excel. I can have your high-level board meetings. I can create new initiatives. I can lead, and not just lead my people. I can lead everyone. Oh, it's not just the Black boys and the Black girls that follow you. You've got all the kids following you. And plus, it's not just a personality thing, it's because you can actually do the job the same way as we did. And once you get to that level, like Leroy was saying about how the teachers have to be whitewashed, you know what? There's days when I might just choose to wear a tie. There are other days when I'm wearing my fresh Air Max that I've got in the Offspring raffle, just to make sure the kids know, look, I still know what's going on. I still know what it's about. It ruffles feathers, but at the same time, one of the main things that we definitely, I think, should have to do is make sure that we're able to adapt. So I love Jamal just going into schools in his tracksuit. I love the message that sends. I love that. But at the same time, you know, if Jamal just switched up and came in a suit the next day, he would just blow everything out of the water, because they'll be like, how is this guy doing it? You know, when you become that unpredictable guy who he's got all the street ethics, but at the same time, if he has to turn around tomorrow and just get in that boardroom and switch it up anyhow, these are the things that they don't expect from us. So I think it's important for us not to just stay one-dimensional and not be stuck on one thing. We've got to be able to show the kids coming up that sometimes they might need to wear a suit. Sometimes they may have to switch it up. And sometimes they may have to change their accent. Like, I can do hood all day long. I grew up in Peckham, grew up on Wharf Road, Camberwell. I can do that all day long. And sometimes when I'm talking to certain parents, I realize, hold on, I can switch into gear 3 and have this conversation on this level. I can do that. But showing them that flexibility, the ability to adapt to different environments and change things. And, you know, once you go into a senior leadership meeting, they think you're just going to come and talk about the Black boys, but you've got a plan for the whole school. We're onto something here, like our foot's in the door. I mean, even this thing that you facilitated, this conversation here, this is amazing, because there's many people on the call who are actually going to walk away from this feeling empowered. Like, I feel empowered just hearing Jamal talk about the tracksuits. Is that I'm going to do that next week, you know? Let me see what they say, because I forgot about that bit. Let me do that. But then there's someone else who's on the call that might say, let me just go buy one shirt, one tie. Leroy, don't worry, I'm not getting onto you. In no way, shape or form, Leroy. I haven't read your message, but I'm not getting onto you. I'm just saying there's space for flexibility and adaptability. And what you're doing with this call, it's amazing stuff. So I'm just going to duck out quickly because I've got to make sure the boys are all right. But I will be listening. Thanks a lot for listening.
Big up, Patrick.
No,
Yeah, go on, Jamal.
Yeah, no, blessings, man. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I agree. I got to go. It's all about balance. I do have suits. Don't get it twisted. I do have suits, but I prefer to wear my trackies. Yeah. Blessings, Albert. Blessings, the team. I got to run.
Thank you for joining us, Jamal. Neil, I saw you had your hand up, but we will be coming to you now. I just wanted to mention the comments that have been made around professionalism. Christine put something in the chat, and I think it's this idea that, you know, when a Black male wears a hoodie, how is that? How does that play up in comparison to when a white male wears a hoodie in the school building? When a Black male wears a hoodie in the school building, are they automatically getting questions? Oh, that's a bit unprofessional. Oh, that's in comparison, because I've seen it personally myself. I've seen a white teacher wear hoodies, and it's like no one really says anything. No one really gives it a second look. But when a Black male wears a hoodie, I've seen it within my own sort of settings and the various schools that I've been to. It's like, oh, why are you wearing a hoodie? That's a bit unprofessional. This question of what is professional, what is unprofessional, you know, on Twitter, there's regularly conversations about tattoos. You know, are teachers allowed to have tattoos? There's regularly conversations on what's suitable for Black men, or what's suitable for male teachers to wear, and what is professional. This idea of professionalism is a wider conversation within education. It's not something that's just impacting Black males, but it is something crucial, a crucial talking point for Black males. And I completely understand the sort of what Leroy's saying about, you know, not all teachers or not all Black male teachers in the building being able to relate, and that's a wider conversation. That's a conversation in its own. You know, different people, different backgrounds, different understandings. You know, so just because it's a Black male teacher, it doesn't mean it's going to be able to relate with a Black male student. And that's a question. That's a conversation, a talking point on its own. But yeah, Neil, did you still want to talk? I know your hand's down now.
Yeah, blessings to everybody. Blessings, Akeem. Akeem knows about me, and I hope he'll speak about me. I was working as an engagement officer in an inner city Manchester school. I wore a suit every day. Yeah, I made sure I looked crisp every day, so that the students would look at me and go, you know what, Mr. Strickland, rah, rah, rah. But Patrick actually nailed it for me, because we talk about stereotypes, and that what he explained is the stereotype of the black man in most cases in a school. This particular school in the city had a high ethnic background, and there was very few black faces in the school, and I struggle with that at the end of the day. I'm a professional, and as we all are in this meeting today, but I found it frustrating because there was only things in that school that I could do, and they lent on me for that. But I have a military background, but I have my roots, and I know where my roots are. I'm coming to the end now. I'm 60 now. I'm coming to the end, and I try extensively to try and motivate young people. You know, kids will look at me and say, "Oh, Mr. Strickland wearing a Christian." When I come home, I put on my combat pants and whatever, and I can become me. I act because I want young people to realize that they can achieve anything. If they can dream it, they can do it. But my question is, why is there not more black representation in school? And that really, really has to be questioned at the end of the day. I continue to strive and motivate people of colour to move forward and be the best that they can be. But Patrick absolutely nailed it for me. I mean, I don't know what school Patrick worked in, but what he said was the absolute truth. And I'd be interested, Akeem, for your perception of how I carried myself and what your thoughts about what I did in school.
I think this is powerful, Akeem. I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. Just the idea that at the moment we've got to a level where this is now generational. You know, so we've got Neil, who's you know worked with Akeem, and Akeem, who's an educator, a youth worker, impactful person, a leader within Manchester, who's now impacting future generations, and we get to this level of the power of the black man. We see a black man here, Neil. I don't know Neil personally. It's the first time I've come across him, but that we need that generationalism, that power's moving through the generations. But Akeem, quick, I'll give you a chance to respond before we move on to the second question.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still going to call you Mr. Strickland. I'm not going to call you Neil. So, Mr. Strickland, thank you very much for joining. Though definitely, I agree with what you said. I think you came into our school at the right time when we felt like we didn't have anyone that we could relate to. Then one day you arrived, and it was like, oh my gosh, a black man who knows us, who speaks like us, and who understands us as young people. So it was a pleasure having you in school, and we absolutely just looked up to you for the fact that throughout primary and secondary, you were the first male black educator that I came across who was looking crisp every day, who was in the three-piece suit every day, who the moment that he used to walk in the building was, everyone was respectful to him, and even the members of staff would turn and would come to you for support and advice, and you'd go above and beyond. So Neil, you was definitely one of the very few who that made me realize that actually I feel like education is the sector for me to go into. Like I said, you was the only one that we had. And he was the only one that we had throughout secondary school who did show us that, okay, as a black male, as someone that lives in the hood, we can actually accomplish anything we want. And, you did make many of individuals like myself feel that we wanted to have that strong stance like you did in secondary school. So it definitely did work, Neil. And yeah, 100% thank you very much for everything that you've done.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
And you know what? It's hard because you just want to be on that level and you want to motivate people. But there were white people that would just let me get on with it at the end of the day because they couldn't do it. But is that right? Yeah, there should be more people. Why is there more pastoral black people? Like Patrick said, yeah, that we were hitmen. Yeah, we would go and deal with it, but we could deal with it on a level at the end of the day. But our young people didn't have that person to look. They're not enough. Yeah. And even the toughest of them, even the high gang members and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. If I asked them to do something, I'd do it on a level and they would respond to me. But it was all about the awareness. And we can't play with education. Yeah. Our people need that support and that strength and that understanding so they can move forward, so they can relate at the end of the day. But I don't talk now. Time for listening now. but respect, Hakeem. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad that I made that impression on your life.
I think that moves quite nicely into our second question. How do these stereotypes affect Black boys in schools? All right, so that I think that's a nice little transition there, and it will allow you sort of to have those conversations in your smaller breakout rooms. We're going to set up those breakout rooms now. But how do these stereotypes affect Black boys in schools? These breakout sessions, they're killing me. It's like as soon as you get started, it's like boom, out, there you go. We may need to make them, I don't know. It seems
I agree,
Albert. I agree.
But I think quality conversations, if anyone wanted to raise their hand and share from their group, then feel free to do it.
Albert, there's a gentleman, Raymond, he was in mid talk and was in when it cut out, so I don't know if he wants to. Again? There's a gentleman called Raymond, he was speaking as it cut out. I don't know if he wants to sort of continue his point. And
cool. Raymond, feel free to unmute, feel free to go for it. Kamoy will come to you afterwards.
And me too, please, Sandra. Thank you.
What I was saying was that we have to go and teach ourselves, we have to go and learn from the experiences from the older generations and the information necessary for the younger generation and find the creme de la creme to go and pass on to the younger generation. So we've got the experience, I call it free underestimated community knowledge experience directly. If you've experienced information, you know directly that information is necessary for the younger generation. You campaign, we put that back into the curriculum as Black folk, because we know what we've been missing. We know we're the first generation born over here. We know we've had children over here. And that information passed back, it will condense what's necessary for the development of the younger generation to go learn into the community what they're going to be growing in. So we have to go and put it in categories: 9-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 27-year-olds, 36-year-olds, 45-year-olds, and hold on until you get them into categories. And what is important for that category from the older generation, feeding back what is necessary, and you gather that information, feed back to the younger generations. And next thing you know, that younger generation starts to develop the necessary tools to be perfectly being in a perfect society. We have to create that. We can't expect somebody to go and create that for us. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think this idea of constant learning, we need to be learning. And like you say, from older generations. So a part of the Black Men Teach model is that we have experienced educators that are sort of behind us. We've got the likes of Jamel that was in here earlier, who's got years of experience behind us. We've got other educators that have sort of input and supported to our model to help with our structure. Most of our team has been in education for 4 to 5 years, but we have Black male educators that have been in for a lot longer. And like you say, they're dropping us gems, dropping us things that we can use to influence future generations. We heard Hakeem and Neil, that connection there, what an amazing connection. And the fact that we got to see that here was great. And because Hakeem's now passing on, things that he's learned, things that he's got from that experience towards the educators that the young people that he's working with. And I think if we flip it as well, it's us learning from the young people. I think that's a part that we don't always recognize, but we need to use to the best, because the young, for example, me in my school, I'm not from the local community, so as much as I see and I know quite a lot of what's going on, I learn from the young people. They give me certain not tips, but little bits about what's going on, about their communities. I regularly go on little walks in the community. When I first started the school, I went on a drive around the community to see what their areas are like and to understand, and it just, like you say, influences what we do going forward. If we get Akeem, I see the guys with their hands up. We'll come to you. Let's go Akeem first. Not Akeem, Kemoy first.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, you're right, Albs. I think I definitely shared learning to try and obviously understand our young people and for them to also let us know what's going on. I was going to echo before as well that obviously I left. Me and Akeem went to the same school. I left when obviously Neil joined the school, and I was saying that obviously I heard from many young people of what an inspiration it was, and we did do some work together. But that was again key for people like say myself and Akeem to see as an inspiration for us to then follow in the footsteps to work in education. And I was saying that, you know, that's what we are doing now, working in schools to show young people that look, you know, we're Black, but we can be educators as well, because I'm always worried about what representation our young people are seeing in the community. And I want them to see that, look, Black people, especially males as well, can work in school as teachers and in these roles as well. And that's what we're always trying to challenge, to show young people that, look, this can happen, you know, and that's what we're doing. And for example, like on Friday, Charlene's in the group in the meeting now, but on Friday she came to my school to do a talk to year 11s, and just the way how she showed, just when she spoke to year 11s, by the end of it, she really got them in tune. They really was keen to hear a bit more about a story, because again, that was somebody that looked like them at the front of the room, you know, having a conversation with them. So I'm really always banging on about representation and how important it is, and we've just got to keep it going in terms of challenging those stereotypes with our young people, to let them see that, look, they can be anything they want to be, but they need to see us at the front leading the way.
100%. Big up Kemoy as well. Kemoy is part of the BMT team, part of the core team. Kemoy's brought some of his young people along as well. So big up Kemoy's young people and is it the Kaiso youth group? Have I got that right?
Yeah. Kaiso group, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So we'll go. I see Rakin, Akua, I hope I said that correctly, and Sandra. We'll go for you three, and then we'll move on to the next question. Rakin, go for it.
Right, sorry. We had a really vibrant conversation in our group, and lots of good things were spoken about. And the first thing was like self-fulfilling prophecy. The idea that when the teachers, you know, they look down on the students, that have bias against them, then that, you know, they have that feeling inside them that, you know, they can't attain, because the teacher doesn't believe in them. And some of the students themselves, they have that kind of like low self-esteem. And so sometimes it's hard for them to believe in themselves. But when you have a teacher or someone on your side that believes in you, then afterwards, even if it's one teacher, that one teacher can make a difference. And I think many of us have that story. In my school, I was lucky. I had a Black geography teacher, and he was great. You know, so as long as you have one. So we said Black teachers are so important and great role models. And then a little bit, we spoke about negative images in the media. So also as well, you know, for our Black boys, there's so much negativity in the media. I mean, you always see them, you know, being stabbed, gang members, you know, you never see them achieving. So that's also important. Also, we had a professor there, or a university lecturer there, who was saying that the family is important as well, the family and the community they're in. And it's they're important that sometimes even as educators, sometimes we have to support the parents as well. But sometimes the parents, they might have had bad experiences in school, and if we can actually support them as well, that will also help to support the child, because sometimes, you know, it's about having that good ethic. And I also mentioned as well, us having like letting our children have positive role models. We know that we're brilliant at music, and we're brilliant in that area of music and sports, but we really need to emphasize the greatness of teachers, of lecturers, of doctors, and then some of our groups said actually they need to see it, and that's another thing. When they see it, then they can be it. That was also mentioned in our group. So when they actually see someone who's a teacher, then actually they can be, because sometimes what they need is the footsteps. They need the pathway. They need that guidance. What's the pathway? How do I move from A to B to C? And we take that for granted, because a lot of there's lots of families that they have a middle-class family. Their parents will do that, but there's some parents, they don't know how to do that. And so we take on that role as well. Don't have enough Black people thinking of a career. Yes. And the last thing to say is that we talked about the low self-esteem and lack of belief. And so we need to be those people that can turn that around and tell them that they can achieve. Yeah, so that was about it in a nutshell.
Rakin, thank you. From what you shared there, perhaps like powerful stuff. I've written some notes. I'm not going to go in too deeply, but what you said about negative images in the media, I think that's crucial. I was saying through the period of lockdown and the pandemic, young people were seeing a lot and seeing everything that we have access to. So in some way, shape or form, we need to try and curate those conversations and sort of guide what they're seeing on the media and educate them on it. And that's not the only way. That's not the only thing for you. That's not your pathway. It doesn't have to be. And then family and community, crucial. I had a young person to me say earlier this week, I am the way that I am because of the way I was brought up. I do the things that I do because I was brought up, because of the way I was brought up. So changing the narrative and having those parental conversations, crucial as well. But because of time, we've got to move on. Thank you for sharing that, Rakin. Akua, I hope I'm saying your name properly, is it?
It doesn't matter. It's Akua, it's fine, it's Ghanaian. I mean, no, it doesn't matter. I agree with everything that's been said. And in our group, I mentioned about the young people seeing a teacher in a suit and in a tracksuit. Okay, so they understand that they can do both. I'm just kind of mirroring what's been said. But one of the things I want to leave with everybody is that our young people, they experience us. Okay, they actually experience us. And there's a saying that somebody might not remember what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And so I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a training psychotherapist. So we look at how people feel, and that's what's imprinted in their psyche, how you made them feel. I used to be a teacher, and one of the headmistresses, she's a Black young headmistress in London. I used to tutor her, and when I listened to what she says about what I did with her, it was really about how I made her feel. I don't think she remembered the topics and the way that I taught, but it was about how I made her feel. So whenever we're doing anything and we're thinking about stereotypes and we're thinking about teaching and we're working with the parents or whatever, let's be conscious of the fact that how we make them feel is what is going to be the stamp. Thank you.
That's resonated with me. I've written that down in big. I've put it in a box. I don't think I've heard anyone say that before. How you make them feel is what sticks to them. So that's crucial and a very important point to remember. Thank you, Akua. And then Sandra May, if we just go for you, and then we'll share the final question.
Thank you so much. I've written down some notes as well. I was a cover supervisor, okay, for about 7 years. So my approach was always to be there. If they wanted someone to talk to, I would form an after-school group, a legitimate one, like I think, so I would do a music group. But what I found is that gave them an opportunity to approach me and let off any steam, whatever. And then what I would do is use that time to say, okay, how about we look at it this way? How about you do it from this perspective? Da, la, 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 la. And what also came out was some of their homely experiences as to why they are the way they are, the way they think within the school, and how they perceive not just Black leaders or teachers, but any teachers. So I think I wrote down that one of the things in education for us is the essence of how to approach them within education, having that voice, like somebody did say. And then the second thing I wrote was this. I do wonder how the white educators are being schooled about our children and us in subliminal talk as to why they also have not just the media perspective, but, you know, the perspective that they have within education as well towards us. I hope that makes sense, by the way.
Yeah, no, it does. To me, it does. And thank you for coming and sharing, Sandra May. We are gonna move on to the final question. So we're gonna keep because of time, so that we do finish promptly at 12. We're gonna go to the smaller questions. I mean, they were meant to be 3 smaller questions. They turn out to be 2 very, very impactful questions. But I'm going to share the third, not the third and final one. I'm going to share the big one that we were meant to discuss. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms for a similar amount of time, just to keep it prompt. I know it's short, sharp, frustrating, but try to keep maybe conversations in your breakout room to a minute per person. I think there's about 5 to 6 people in there, so it's going to be 5 minutes. What is the significance of Black males within the classroom? Right, so we've spoken about some stereotypes, we've spoken about issues, we've spoken about the impact and the past, the generational and looking up and learning. We've hit so many different talking points, and we've heard from some of the young people. What is the significance of Black males within the classroom? And can I just ask that if you do have young people or some students in your room, please give them an opportunity to share from their perspective as well, because that's a crucial perspective to hear from. What do they see as significant? Brilliant. I mean, conversations again, quality conversations. What we'll do to feedback this time is if you could give us one-liners. So one-liners, whether it's in our group we had buzzwords for the significance. We had some, in a sentence. If you put it in a sentence, what would the significance of Black men in education in the classroom be for you? We'll start off with Gervais. Go for it.
Thank you very much. The one significant point that I gained from it is from Christine, Professor Christine, who does research on Black males in education, and she would like to link with some of us, is she said the impact is if you have one Black teacher, it can reduce dropouts, and also it can leave a significant impact for the rest of your life. And also in leadership, it can also promote generational leadership and also successional planning and leadership for the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gervais. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else want to give a one-liner? I want to hear from potentially some young people. Don't be shy, don't be nervous. I know young people were contributing in the various groups, but if there's a one-liner for you, we got empowerment in the chat. We've got iron sharpens iron. We've got impact. Anyone else want to vocalize what
exciting, Albert. I think the word exciting, because it's just nice when you can see somebody that looks like you in the classroom. So it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely exciting. Anyone else?
Peter,
we're having some call outs. Whoa.
Sorry, I think that I'm a head teacher of a school. I'm also a school improvement advisor for a trust. And I think that over the years, I think the most important thing is connection, making those connections with the young people, making the connections with their family, particularly the Black families.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that for a reason that we all understand. And making a connection, using your skills to make the connections and build relationships, particularly with people in different levels of the organization, including our TLAs, including our mentors, including all of those people that are so important to our young people. And I'm just distilling that experience that I've got over the last 30 years. And that's what I've seen that really works.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Connection. For me, relationships are at the heart of everything. Relationships with the students, parents, etc. in the school community. That's what makes it happen. Peter, it will be great. I haven't come across you before. It'd be great to connect with you further beyond this. As with everyone else, we will finish with Azza and your one-liner, your last comments before I sort of start to close. Azza, go for it.
I really agree with the connection part of it. If you don't have a connection, then you can't really build a relationship with any students that you have. And then also, we would in the group that we were in before, we were talking about understanding, because you can't you can't build a relationship. You can't build like that teacher, that respect that student has for a teacher without being able to understand them. So I feel like connection and understanding, that's basic, that's the significance of Black males in the classroom.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing, Azza. Thank you for being here with us, guys. Thank you for joining in and being involved in your smaller breakout room conversations. You know, I just by popping in and out and the feedback, I could tell that it's hopefully it's been impactful, and it's been some powerful conversations that are going on, and the feedback we've seen in the larger sessions. It's quality to hear. I've got pages full of notes myself. Moving forward, that brings me on to this part, right? So the BMT pledge. So from the conversations, you know, what's next? Like, what are we going to do within ourselves next? What are we going to do within our communities, within our schools? I'm sure, you know, it's either been thought-provoking, it's either challenged ourselves, or we've learned something. So the QR code there will take you to a potential tweet, and it's for you to openly, publicly pledge what you maybe do to potentially raise the profile of Black men in education, or support in tackling inequalities they may face. So if you are happy to, feel free to scan the QR code. It will take you to a tweet that looks like that. I joined the Black Males Around the Table event with Black Men Teach, and here's my BMT pledge. And then if you could type out or tweet a pledge, that would be fantastic. So feel free to do that now, engage with us, and that will be one way that we can start to connect with you on Twitter if we're not already connected with you. It will be just to building that connection, building those relationships, and building this community for Black male educators. And this is for everyone to do, everyone to get involved in. So I'll just leave that there for a second. We are beginning to close. So the next slide, the next couple of slides just have information about our future events. We plan on having a monthly event. So it's going to be the last Saturday of each month. And we've got the sort of the topics and the themes for them for you, for dates for your diary. And then we also have a Slack community, which you can also scan the QR code to get information from us, sort of more in a more readily available way, an easier way to communicate with us outside of Twitter. So any of our notifications, any events that we're doing, community style events, online events, you have access to as well. So here's what's coming up. So Black Males Around the Table, that's obviously what we've been here today for. The next couple of events, we've got branding yourself, knowing your tribe as a Black male educator. So that could be for educators that are already in the profession but are struggling to find their place, where they fit in. It could be new educators that are sort of wondering where is their place, you know, how to brand yourself, and knowing your tribe, knowing your community as a Black male educator. Then we have a session linking the phases of education, because they all matter. So I know we've got various different leaders, members of the education community in with us today. So it'll be great to have you along to that one, linking early years, secondary school, primary, and higher. A research session, so looking at what research says and the impact and the powers of research. You know, we've mentioned there's learning is important, and it's important for us to keep learning and keep and to stay within that sort of process. And the research session is going to be crucial. And then we have an event on Black leaders in education, so the progression, all right? And we had someone mentioned the comment of being whitewashed, and maybe staying true to yourself, staying true to your beliefs, especially in those leadership roles where it can be hard and it can be a challenge at times. Finally, our Slack community. So if you want to be sort of updated on our upcoming events, things that we've got going on, I promise you, we don't overload you with messages. We're just building this community. This is for everyone and anyone, right? So you don't have to be a Black man to join this community. It's if you believe in what we're trying to build here, with Black Men Teach, building this community of support for Black men in education, right? So feel free to join the Slack, and that will allow you to we send links there for registrations, notifications, and just common updates. So that's the Slack community that we are building. Okie dokie. And guys, I think that brings our time to a close. We are slightly over, 2 minutes over, but thank you for joining us here today for Black Males Around the Table. For me, it's been impactful conversations. I hope for you it has been too. We are Black Men Teach. This has been Black Men Around the Table. And thank you for joining in. Thank you for contributing to the conversations. It's been powerful. I hope you can take something away from it. What I will do, I'll leave this slide up if you hadn't had a chance to maybe tweet or pledge. It doesn't have to be a pledge. If you wanted to tweet something around the conversations today, then please do. It's just to hold ourselves accountable and make sure that we are actually taking steps in the right direction. But once again, guys, I'll say thank you. Thank you for joining us on your Saturday morning. Now, feel free, to leave, go and enjoy the rest of your day. I never know how to end these things, but
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you all.
Connect with us. Continue to connect.
Massive thank you.
About connections.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.